lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with the few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. The Drive-in Theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Yo, dudes, hey!
I didn't know we were doing
evening.
cool dances.
What, finger guns?
Oh, I thought it was like
I mean, yeah, we could do whatever. We could do the things. What's up, guys? It is another Monday night. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. You're tuned into the Drive-in Speakerbox. I'm your host, Bo, the boom operator.
I'm Jake the Grit.
And we are going to be doing another show for you tonight like we always do. Going to be talking about movies. Going to be reviewing the new Coming to America.
Coming to the number 2.
I wish they'd come up with a better title for that. It's just when you go, have you seen Coming to America? They're like, oh, now you have to do
Have you seen Coming number 2, America?
Oh, God, it's stupid. But, yeah, we're going to be talking about that later in the show, so stick around for that. If you guys are listening to the podcast, we thank you. You can find these wherever podcasts are bought, download, whatever you do with them. Ours is free. But if you're tuned in live or want to, check us out on our Facebook, our Twitch, or our YouTube where we broadcast live. We got a chat going on. Johnny Dalton over on YouTube already in the chat, and Counterexample over on Twitch. What's up, dudes? Yeah, so here we are. Here we go. Did you see anything other than Coming to number 2, America?
No.
I hate saying number 2.
Yeah, I almost watched the Raya and the Last Dragon or whatever, but
Raya and the Last Dragon.
I hate Aquafina so much, so I decided not to.
I didn't go to the theater. I wanted to go to
It was in the theater. It's
was
actually
in
in our local theater.
Yeah, there are three new movies in the local theater.
You don't
right
have
now.
to pay big time Disney Plus premium to be able to watch it. You can actually go see it in the movie theater.
It's true. It's true. And, studios and theaters are kind of clinging to the edge of their seats, so to speak, with the anticipation of what's going on with these new movies hitting the box office. It's big business, clearly. There are shareholders, stocks at stake. And with 3 new movies in the theaters, everybody's eyes were on the box office this weekend. And, they were still relatively low considering. But, this is something that I think is going to start emerging. Of course, a lot more people are getting vaccinated. New York and L.A. are getting ready to reopen their theaters, which is really big news because I want to say, I was reading a report on it the other day, but those 2 markets represent like 20% of all United States domestic ticket sales.
Sure, because between the 2 of them, they represent 50% of the population.
Exactly.
Right? So.
And all of the, new releases, like when indie films come out and all this kind of stuff, it's LA and New York first. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a piece on NPR the other day, and they were talking about, how movies really benefit from an LA and New York release. Like Parasite was a really good example that got an LA and New York release, and everybody's like, oh, check out this movie, because it wasn't scheduled for a very, very wide release, but it just blew it up so hard in LA and New York that it swept the country. It was a phenomenon now. And, so we'll see what happens.
Maybe it's one of those things where it's like you tell 2 friends and then each of them tells 2 friends. So everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone that lives in one of those cities kind of a thing.
Pretty much.
And they're like, well, so-and-so said it was pretty good.
And they tell their friends and their friends and their friends. What commercial was that? That was a commercial jingle. And their friends and their friends and their friends. And it multiplied on the screen. Come on, somebody in the chat's bound to know. But the box office this week, we'll go ahead and talk about the box office. We'll start off with the box office since it's been so long since we've had a box office to talk about. There are 3, technically 4 new releases that have only been out for 1 week, except for one was out 2 weeks. That was Tom and Jerry, which is a new film. 4 new movies in theaters right now. And so all eyes on the box office right now. So, we had the Croods finally getting knocked down to number 5. The Croods been really raking in this second.
It's been back and forth.
It's been in theaters for, 15 weeks.
Yeah, I was about to say the Marksman took over for a minute, and then there was like a Wonder Woman resurgence,
there was
right?
Wonder
and then there
Woman,
was
yeah.
like a award movie thing, but it always finds its way
The Croods finds a way
back to number 1. Yeah,
but it was number 5. But then number 4 we have Boogie, which brought in 1.2 million. That was Focus Features. It came out in about 1,200 theaters this weekend. And then Chaos Walking, which has been making its rounds around the internet, a lot of ad campaigns coming out, 3.7 million, and it came out in 1,980 theaters. That one's from Lionsgate. Number 2 was Tom and Jerry, bringing in 6.6 million this week, and it's brought up so far 23 million in its second release from Warner Brothers.
not bad for one that you can watch at home right now.
And that's another part of this story is many of these movies you can watch in advance and paying a premium to see them at home. But then the number 1 movie, of course, Raya and the Last Dragon, bringing in $8.5 million in its opening release, only in 2,000 theaters nationwide. The average theater pull was over $4,000 per screen, I believe. So that's actually good numbers for middle of a pandemic and all this kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list because I think the only 2 that you can watch without the premium are the ones on HBO Max, which is Judas and the Black Messiah and Tom and Jerry, which is just folded into your regular HBO Max.
But you can see Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, but that one's premium. That is the premium, like you said.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying the 2 that aren't. You don't have to.
Premium.
There's
you
nothing
can just,
extra.
You can just hit a button and go.
Yeah, because for
Gotcha.
the 30 days, Tom and Jerry is theater and streaming. Judas and the Black Messiah is available on HBO. I don't know what the deal is there because it was Warner Brothers Studios, so probably the same thing, right? Kind of a deal. Same company there. But I don't know if Marksman is premium yet or not.
I don't know.
I know the Croods is, but it's like $25.
Good.
And then Raya and the Last Dragon is that like super premium Disney Plus, $50 a pop or whatever.
Good Lord, get
to
out
have
of
the
that.
premium accounts. Yeah, not going to happen. Which Johnny asked, we didn't watch WandaVision. No, man. You know what? I changed my Hulu Live over to Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and regular Hulu, I guess.
All your subscription members.
Yeah. And I've never once even logged into the Disney Plus. So it's
Same.
there. I mean, like
It's there if you need it.
There's some movies that I would really like to watch sometimes. Like I'd go back and be like, oh, kind of want to watch Peter Pan. Oh, wait.
Can't.
Something like that. So they'd be like, I'd really like to watch a movie from childhood. And they're like, guess
Can't.
what? You can't. Yeah.
Speaking of
or Walt
Warner
Disney
Brothers,
Presents. And they're like, no. All of those episodes have been wiped clean.
Which, I think we talked about it a little bit last week about Turner Classic Movies doing a series on... did we talk about this last year or last week?
No, I read Johnny's comment about hating Titans.
We'll get back to that.
I'm offended.
But I think it's really interesting that they're taking an academic approach to this stuff. These films that are on the kind of cancel culture chopping block, so to speak, and they're kind of like, hang on a second. Let's look at these academically and let's understand and acknowledge the problematic portions of these films, but still understanding that these films when they were created are and to this day are still considered works of art, masterpieces, whatever you want to classify these things as. And I can't remember the lady that's spearheading it. It's African American woman from TCM who was leading the project, and because she was talking about her story of really loving Gone with the Wind, and kind of being told as an adult she can't love Gone with the Wind. She's like, well, my whole household grew up loving Gone with the Wind, and I studied film my whole life because of this movie. And wait a second, what? It's kind of an interesting approach that they're at TCM's taking, but that spins things back to Space Jam, which is not really a work of art or a masterpiece.
Oh, what?
But no, you can't like Space Jam anymore.
Why? Because Lola.
Well, and Pepe Le Pew.
Right. I forgot that.
And Elmer Fudd, and basically all of Looney Tunes.
Well, for a long time, people have been anti-Speedy Gonzales. He's been missing from television for a long time. But yeah, I forgot that now Pepe Le Pew is not okay.
Because he's a rapist.
and a poor portrayal of a French person.
Yes.
Um,
I like
a
how
French
everybody
skunk.
I like how everybody's focused on like his behavior, but not the fact that we're just totally railing on French people. On like going, oh, he's on and you're like, no, you can't do that either. But they're like, yeah, but you know, le moi, le smooch, and that's making fun of French people apparently still culturally acceptable, but Pepe Le Pew is no longer. Space Jam 2 in the news. They have talked about how they've already cut the Pepe Le Pew scenes out of the new Space Jam film.
What?
Yes.
Really? They put them in there and they're just like, you know what?
Can't do it now. So
not allowed.
Everybody's kind of tiptoeing on broken glass.
It's a fucking cartoon, man.
Well, says the white guy.
Oh, fair. Okay.
So, the bearded white guy talking about
I don't know why you have
movies.
to attack me for my facial hair, bro chacho.
Well, it's just the way of the world. And but it's really interesting to see how this is guiding new films, which is I'm gonna talk a little bit about Coming to America, because there's some stuff in Coming to America that was kind of interesting, decisions that were made. But yeah, Space Jam, it's interesting to see how, and this is something I've talked about on the Drive-in Speakerbox before all of this became a thing, is how audiences now are shaping more than ever movies, even after they're being edited together, and audiences like maybe thought they heard of a backstage photo that someone was wearing a certain color shoes, and they're like, no, and then like an internet campaign gets made, and they're like, well, okay, fine, all right, the movies, we're just gonna react like Sonic. Like,
yeah, but Sonic was a force for good.
I know, but all forces for good in the wrong hands can be evil weapons. G.I. Joe taught us that, and every science fiction movie,
because they killed off Channing Tatum. Bastards.
Oh my God, you're talking about the movie? You're talking about the movie? You're talking about the movie. You made me think of the movie.
Yeah, I know how to mess with you, bro.
Ew. What was he, Duke? Channing Tatum was Duke.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Channing Tatum. He's a funny dude, but that movie was a big Duke. That is for certain. Knight Alishley said, just rewatched the old Coming to America. Holy shit. So different as an adult.
Yeah, go back and watch any movie from the 80s. You'll probably feel it. Watch any of those Eddie Murphy movies. Watch any of the crossover movies like Trading Places. Probably not going to be okay in your eyes right now.
Well,
you talk about animal rape. There's a gorilla that gets a hold of the dude that's trying to chase after him.
Yeah.
Because he gets taped up and shoved in the gorilla suit and then locked in the cage.
And he gets gorilla raped.
He does.
And his eyeballs go, ooh, which was always like in the 80s, like the eyeballs going, ooh, or like the universal sign of something was going in a hole it didn't belong in. And
then when you see him later, it's just the role like, well, I guess this is my life now.
I guess I got gorilla raped. And didn't the gorilla like make another appearance and is like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying at the end of the movie, yeah.
And he's like, well, here we go again.
Because the dude's coming, they're like going to set him free. And he's like, what are you doing? No, leave him alone, man. Can't you see they're in love?
Yeah, and that was comedy. But it's a different time, I mean, even as early as I just started rewatching The Venture Brothers, and because it was all on Hulu, and I was like, hey, yeah, there was the last 2 seasons I never caught, so I was like, man, I was a really big Venture Brothers fan when the show first originated as a couple of episodes on Adult Swim sometimes, and so I started rewatching it, and that show came out in like early 2000 2001. And even that, there was a lot of stuff that would not fly today. It was hilarious, but stuff that you just can't do and you can't say. And it's really interesting to see these byproducts of how people that are creating films, creating art, creating stories and telling stories are having to sort of constantly wonder what everyone's going to think about the story they're trying to tell. And the question, as a film historian and a student of film, the guy that's got, where's my book? Yeah, hang on. The guy that's got books like this, and I've seen everything in it.
Many more coffee table books.
Yes. I've seen so many of the movies in this book, and this is a heavy book, 1,001 movies to see before you die, and a lot of these films would not be made today. And one of the questions I keep asking myself is, will we see films like it again? Will we see films that engage people on a way that is life-altering, or a way that is more than just entertainment? And it's a strange thing, because movies like, say, The Goonies, revisiting The Goonies, or even Coming to America, you look at them today and you're like, how was this groundbreaking? How did this change lives? How is it that people are still talking about this, 30 years later? And it's because you're not thinking about yourself 30 years ago. You're not thinking of the world 30 years ago. You're not thinking about the first time anybody had ever done something like that on screen before. You're not thinking about how these movies with a $36 million budget, which Coming to America did, put a bunch of underdog comics, one of which was at the top of every bit of his game, and was doing something on screen that no one had ever seen before. And are we going to get to a point in film where everybody's too scared to do anything new, that we never see anything new? Because washing the Royal Privates was not a thing you saw on big screen. I mean, it was rated R, for Christ's sake, And this new one was rated PG-13 out of being able to make sure that they were making everybody happy. And it's interesting, and I don't know. Hang on, let me get caught up in the comments here about, let's see, McLean saying, hope they continue making Venture Brothers. Me too, but I don't think it's going to happen. Night Ashley said, it make me wonder, Coming to America, I hope this doesn't sound stupid, if Eddie Murphy humor was adapted to what he thought white audience would think was funny versus what people of color would have found funny, like how much of a performance for white people. And you look at the original Coming to America, and it was a bridge. It was really a bridge between white and black comedy that found an audience. There were movies out there that even today, you don't see a lot of people a lot of John Johansson and his wife Barbara going to see Medea. That just, I don't want to sound like an asshole that's generalizing, but the studies have shown, like, even Tyler Perry knows who he's making his movies for. But Coming to America did something different.
Well, I think Eddie Murphy himself was that bridge too. You look at the comics on his most recent SNL hosting, where they all came out together. Keenan and Dave Chappelle and Eddie Murphy and Tracy Morgan. Yeah, they all came out and they shared the stage, and everyone talked about how they really looked up to Eddie Murphy. And I think Eddie Murphy is one of those people. His comedy was for people that liked comedy, that wanted to have a laugh, and I think he acted as the bridge. And there's times in some of those specials, if you watch the home video versions or whatever, they talk to him about that kind of thing, and people interviewed about him and things that he's talked about before too, with, at the time, talking to respectable comics, Bill Cosby and Richard Pryor, but talking to people like that are on very opposite ends of a comedy spectrum, and Eddie Murphy being able to reach audiences that even those two men weren't able to, and have a shared audience that those two didn't necessarily have. So I don't think Eddie Murphy changes his comedy for an audience, but more where he's at in
not
his
until
own
Shrek.
Life. Yeah, that was still Eddie Murphy being pretty SNL
No, I said not
style
until
Eddie Murphy.
After Shrek. Like, Shrek was the turning point where
You're talking like Daddy Daycare, and
where he went down a path of whatever his publicist was like, hey,
but I think that's changes in his own life too, becoming like a family man and being comfortable in his life.
That. He absolutely said that in an interview.
Not having to work as hard to maintain his living because he'd already found success.
Well, and we saw, we both reviewed the film. Did you see Dolomite Is My Name? I know I did.
No, I never watched it.
So it was his kind of return to R-rated comedy, which happened, I guess, a year and a half ago. Fantastic film. It's kind of a loose biopic off of Rudy Ray Moore, Fort Smith, local native. I mean, he doesn't live there anymore, obviously.
Is that someone we want to be proud of?
Dude, Rudy Ray Moore was awesome.
He's like, hey, we're going to film a sex scene, but it's going to be real. This porno now. Let's do it.
The Human Tornado. Yeah. God, I loved Rudy Ray Moore growing up.
Did he get STDs filming scenes because he was just
the coolest?
Okay, sure. That's what the word you want to use.
Yeah. But anyway, Eddie Murphy in a lot of interviews was talking about how that return, because like you said, he was really just focusing on his family life, and there was a period where he listened to his publicist too much, was doing projects that he probably didn't really want to do, but he was paying the bills, but also not being able to focus on his family and all this kind of stuff. But it's interesting to see this return.
His interview in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Seinfeld is really good, and kind of a little touches on some of that stuff too. So
let's see. My mother from Facebook just tuned in. Hello, Mom. She says nothing is ever going to be allowed to be funny again except fart jokes. Well, and I mean to go into the basis of comedy, the core of comedy. Fart jokes are eternal. Pratfalls, physical comedy.
If you which Eddie Murphy special is it where it has Sam Jackson playing one of his uncles, and it's him as a kid in front of the family on Christmas, and he gets up in front of them, and that's all he does is tell
just
fart
jokes?
Yeah, because that's how he really got into comedy, was trying to make his family laugh doing
and do you know
jokes.
I mean, there is a science behind why fart jokes will never stop being funny. They'll last for an eternity, and it's because and I know this sounds ridiculous, but farts are timeless. They do. Everybody farts. Okay, they sound funny. They smell funny. Everybody's gonna do a fart at some point in their life, but unlike, say,
speak for yourself, guy.
Seth MacFarlane. What are you, a pigeon? But unlike, say, a lot of Seth MacFarlane comedy, it's like if you didn't look at Twitter this week, it's not going to be funny next week. Or you go back and you look at some of these, social commentary comedies. Well, times change. People's behaviors change. People's attitudes towards what's right and what's wrong change. But farts, man. Farts are always farts, and they will always be farts. And this person falling down will always be a person falling down or getting kicked in the groin. Granted, I don't.
So what you're saying is that no matter how terrible of a person he becomes, Chevy Chase will always be funny because he's master of pratfall.
He's the master of pratfall. Dave Calhoun agreeing, saying that fart jokes he loves fart jokes.
Now you know why I had to wear a mask last time he was in the studio.
See, fart jokes. But it's one of those things. It's comedy 101. I'm not a huge fan of comedies, believe it or not. Mainly because of how dated they all tend to be.
Dude, I like comedies. My favorite movie is a comedy from the 50s. How about that?
See, nothing was funny in the 50s.
Wrong.
What, like you gonna tell me about episodes of Dobie Gillis or something? Like,
no, but dude, Three Stooges is never not funny.
I mean, Three Stooges is funny, but Three Stooges is all physical comedy. Well, like I just said.
No, the funniest parts is when they just really rag on each other, or they'll
and then they hit each other, and it's all physical comedy.
They come in with a quip, and it's just like, oh, got him. Sometimes that's the best stuff, or just like some of the things they'll say or looks they'll make. That's where it's at.
Well, speaking of Three Stooges, one of my favorite Three Stooges episodes is where they're ice delivery guys. And I think it's Curly. They have to. This is back when refrigerators, you had to get a big block of ice and put it into. It's why they call it an ice chest or an ice box. And they put it in. They have these big ice tongs to carry the big cube of ice. And he's trying to deliver this ice up this big flight of stairs. And it's hot outside. It's summertime. And so he clips it and he hoists it on his back and he runs all the way up the stairs. And by the time it like melts down and it's gone, and he like goes and it's empty, and he's like, what the hell? Where, he didn't say hell, but he's like, and he runs all the way back down to get into their ice. He's like, I thought I had it. And he does this like 5 times. And Moe's like, yeah, what? Yeah. And it's so funny and so stupid. But it's situational physical comedy that anybody can go, yeah, that's dumb, and it's funny.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that. Abbott Costello, Laurel and Hardy, all that.
Buster
stuff.
Keaton, all those dudes. I mean,
Well, Buster Keaton, you watch it now and you're just like, that's a crazy person. Like
Buster Keaton.
How did he
lunatic.
live? Yeah.
But also, there's a really good picture of Abbott Costello, Buster Keaton, and I think Charlie Chaplin all like in the same photo without their get-ups on, and it's pretty awesome. But those dudes were like the masters of, if they could fart more, they would have. Actually, if you go,
if Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin were in sound movies, or now you watch it back and they just took out the plates that said Bert.
Well, actually, if you want to get like, if you want to watch me like flex dumb historical comedy, Le Pétomane, he was the French fartist and in early silent films, late 30s, early 40s, I think, France. But yeah, Le Pétomane, he was a fartist, and that was what his deal was he went, it was like a vaudevillian style in front of audiences, and he could control his lower intestine, like some of those guys on YouTube, and he would just do a whole routine based on farts.
What kind of YouTube are you watching?
Classics.
No, people should be watching YouTube like us, not YouTube like that.
Google it, Le Pétomane.
No.
Yeah, you're gonna. I'm just saying, if you guys are into history,
If y'all are into Dookie Toots.
hey man, it's history. God, who would have thought we would have been discussing the history of the fart joke here on the Drive-in Speakerbox? But just letting you know, this is straight off the dome, and we don't prepare for these shows. So just to let you know that we're qualified, unlike the reviews of people you're reading on like Huffington Post and hell, even the New York Times. I'm reading their movie reviews these days, and I'm like, have you guys even seen a movie? And it's terrible. What's going on in the comments here? Oh,
well, everyone. Vince knows that I love Fast and Furious. Everyone knows that, and
they just want us to talk about something.
Someone said that Ernest is timeless, and they're right, because Ernest is the best. Johnny's been talking about the different edits of Blazing Saddles, like the family-friendly version that was like 5 minutes long. Any
hey, beans.
Yeah, any Mel Brooks movie is going to end up being real short if you try and take anything offensive out of it. Kind of like that's the idea he had behind it, and that's the whole thing behind the comedy is to make you have to look at those things. And
then on 9 pages of notes. Those are all.
These aren't.
No. Look at the notes. These 9 pages you see are every note he's ever taken. He doesn't bring all these. He just.
We used to not do notes.
Notes.
No, so the notes were never a thing. I take notes because you have a computer in front of you. We used to not do notes, but this happened because we don't have a lot of movies to go to anymore. So it all turned into a whole bunch of news. So I had to have notes to keep track of what happened in the news. Speaking of
what happened in the news, did you take any notes? What's your paper?
Hey,
what did your paper say?
It's International Women's Day, everybody.
It is.
So there you go. That's today. Hopefully everyone kind of had a good day, did something with that, made good use of those types of things. I don't know, dude. I don't get to do anything for
Yeah, you're not a woman.
No, you're right. I'm not. But you know what?
Well, happy
support,
International
I guess.
Women's Day.
What else happened? Nothing really happened in movies, man. Award shows. We don't like award shows. We don't care for award shows.
Get out of here with that stuff.
Vince said international women means more foreign films.
Did you see this? I love Terry Gilliam, and I thought this was a little ridiculous, but there was a big ongoing saga about him making The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and something that he started working like in 1989 or something, and it took him forever, and he finally did it, and it was called Lost in La Mancha, which got released, the documentary was called Lost in La Mancha, got released in 2002. The movie finally got released, 3 years ago? We saw it.
2 or 3. We went and watched it.
Yeah. But now, because everything's a universe, they are making a Lost in La Mancha sequel. So it's a documentary sequel about a documentary about a movie that never got made, but now that the movie is made, they're making a sequel to the documentary about the movie finally being made. That's where we are right now. Welcome to America. We're having, it's just, and it's going to be called He Dreams of Giants. And I mean, I'm going to watch it because I love Terry Gilliam, but I just think this is so unnecessary. Terry Gilliam.
And then there's going to be a doll in a chair in one of the scenes, and they're going to make a spinoff. And it's going to branch its own series. God!
But if you've not seen Lost in La Mancha, the Man Who Killed Don Quixote, watch it. It's great.
It's Adam Driver being awesome.
Yes, I mean everything about that movie is. I mean, it's Terry Gilliam, and the dude's ancient. We're probably not going to see another film out of him. And what a way to kind of wrap up a career.
What's the name of the guy that plays the Don Quixote? That's not Don Quixote.
Oh, he's in
Tomorrow Never Dies. He was the dude from.
He
was High Sparrow from Game of Thrones.
He's in every single solitary
Why can't
movie.
I remember?
Jonathan Pryce.
There it is. Thank you.
He's in every Terry Gilliam movie ever. Because Jonathan Pryce, he's
a Bond villain.
He's the bad guy in
Game of Thrones
Baron Munchausen.
Was he?
Yeah, he's
Nuh-uh.
Yes. In the reality world, not the fantasy world. He's the guy that comes in. It's like Munchausen, get all these poor peasants out of here.
Did he have a bunch of makeup on? A lot of people had big facial hair and weird makeup.
Wasn't he also in Game of Thrones?
Yeah, he was the High Sparrow.
He was the High Sparrow.
Yeah.
But no, he was in Brazil. If you guys have ever watched Brazil, he was the sword angel guy. Robert De Niro was just like pipes and came and helped him out. God, so many good movies, you guys. Just watch Terry Gilliam movies. Pfft, get with it. They're not all great. Most of them are great.
Watch them.
Watch Time Bandits. They were talking about wanting to do a TV show about Time Bandits.
No, leave it alone.
No, I mean Terry Gilliam's still alive. Like let him have something to do with it. I don't know. Johnny says the Man Who Killed Don Quixote is free on Crackle right now.
Hey, there you go.
Because Crackle's still a thing. Honestly,
Crackle's Sony, bro.
If you could pay for it, do that. I paid for it. I bought it on Amazon just because I wanted to give Terry Gilliam my money because he earned it. So,
yeah, and we bought movie tickets and went and watched it in the theater. So.
I haven't even watched it online. I just bought it online because I was like, I already watched it in a theater, but I'm also going to buy it online because Terry Gilliam is awesome. Let's see here. Do we want to just go ahead and talk about Coming to America? Coming number 2 America? Because, it is the middle of the show, and I think we have been derailed by the audience comments for a while.
And now that we've made fun of my notes, I do have digital notes that I took while watching the movie.
Okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's do this. Coming to America, the new 2021 sequel to the 1988 original. The original, I believe, John Landis. John Landis, a sort of comedy genius of the time. John Landis responsible for a lot of really, really, really famous, early to mid 80s to early 90s. I mean, John Landis was the 80s, man. Three Amigos, Coming to America, Trading Places, Blues Brothers, National Lampoons.
But what about all the Brat Pack movies?
Beverly Hills Cop.
What's the name of the guy?
Oh, John Hughes?
Yeah.
Actually, there was a really interesting.
You can't just say John Landis is the '80s when you got John Hughes.
Hughes. There was what is her name? Molly Ringwald just did an article for I can't remember what website it was, either New York Times or Slate or something, about her experience on that, revisiting 16 Candles and Breakfast Club because those are problematic films now as well. Even though John Hughes heralded as one of the only directors to really capture truly the teenage experience of the time. Anyway, we're talking about John Landis. John Landis, he's great. We're talking about John Landis. So, Coming to America. Coming to America, the original film. In this weird universe that also encapsulated Trading Spaces.
Yes, which you got to see the Duke brothers.
You did, and
homeless in the original after the results of trading places.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know what? That was something you got to see again in this one. And I
was it Mortimer and what was the other Duke brother's name?
Oh man,
Mortimer Duke and Mortimer and something Duke.
Yeah, because they traded the dollar.
Yeah, Mortimer.
I can't remember. I can't remember. But we got to see Colin Jost as the grandson of one of the Duke brothers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then getting told off about white privilege and all that fun stuff in the new one.
Logan said it's Bo and Luke.
But that is the Duke. That is a different Duke. That's a different Duke brothers.
I think Bo and Luke were cousins, not brothers, right?
I mean, it's the South. They were probably cousins and brothers.
Wow, dude, are you kidding? We're Southern. You're gonna come in with that,
dude? I'm named after Bo Duke.
That's awesome.
I know, right? Isn't it weird? Yeah, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mom. If you're still listening, it was Bo Duke and then Bo from Days of Our Lives. They were both really handsome Bows on television, and that's where my name came from.
Vince came in and said Randolph. That is the other Duke.
Randolph and Mortimer Duke. Mm-hmm. Yes, a gentleman. Let's see. Do I have enough money in my pocket to have a gentleman's wager?
Yeah.
No, wait. It's $1. And they hand it like crisply over like this. Oh, thank you, Mortimer.
And then they fold it and put it in the shirt pocket.
Anyway, so Coming to America was a really interesting original film. I don't think we need to go into too depth of a review of the original because everyone's seen it a billion times. There were so many things that were invented there. And, Eddie Murphy got that sort of springboard into putting on tons of makeup and playing multiple characters in the same film. Like this film, he did it all. He was Sexual Chocolate. He was the barbershop guy. He was the Jewish guy in the barbershop. He was Arsenio Hall was the pastor. He was also the
scary lady at the bar.
Well, yeah, the I'm gonna eat you up or whatever.
And your friend
and
too.
Your friend too.
Yeah.
And
he was he was the other at least two of the other characters in the barbershop or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was the guy that's always eating. But anyway, this movie set a lot of bars for kind of modern comedy, situational comedy that people have emulated for decades now. And as Poochie Vince says, it is pre-clump multi-roles.
Well, and Johnny asked if Louis Anderson was in this one. Yes, he is, and I was very excited to see Louis Anderson.
There's a lot of, Coming to America is a cameo fest. I mean, I'm going to just come out right in here and say it. I didn't think it was all that amazing. By the time I finished it, I was just like, yeah.
Totally fair.
It wrapped up in a weird way that I didn't really like the way it tried to. It didn't stick the landing.
So the original story in this movie, not so good, not the best,
and also pretty against what the original stood for.
But it did everything that like a 3 decades on sequel should do as far as like throwbacks and like connections to it, because everything that I was like, oh, I need to hear the Soul Glow song and see, McDowell's and all of that stuff. It was all there. Louis Anderson
was there. A McFlurby is different because we put the toppings on the bottom.
Yeah,
instead of the top.
And they're just like, yeah, hell yeah. Every time he's like, yeah. When McDowell's was sued by McDonald's for blatant like stealing, we got out of it because of this small technicality.
Can we just say how well John Amos has aged?
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Better than everybody else except for Eddie Murphy.
Dude, John Amos, who's the guy who, the Daddy McDowell.
Yeah.
I swear to God, he did not age 30 years. He looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that Paul Bates, who hasn't been in a movie in a long time, who was their kind of manservant, Oha, from the original, the guy that hit the high notes notice that if you stay into the like trailer or the end credits, was a John Legend who sang a cover of the original song, which was pretty awesome. Which led you, without giving you context, showed you that he probably grew up absolutely loving that scene and getting the privilege to.
And he changed the lyrics for this movie.
He did.
Yeah.
But it was full of cameos. I mean, James Earl Jones. Whoa. I didn't know. I mean, he was bedridden the whole movie.
No, he wasn't, because
he was in a coffin the other half.
Yeah, but it was done so good. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, even James Earl Jones was like, he was really funny in like his scene that he had.
That dude's like 170.
Yeah, but he killed it. Well, and see, they made references too. They're like when Wesley Snipes showed up, they're like, oh, the inspiration from Mufasa. Like they brought in stuff like that, but without trying to make it a Family Guy style joke of like explaining it. It's just there. But all of the callbacks, all of those things, you got everything that you wanted to see. Plus, they got friggin' Gladys Knight. They had In Vogue.
So it
They had
reminded
Salt and Pepper.
It reminded me of movies of the time, kind of like, Blues Brothers, kind of like Nothing But Trouble, like the original Coming to America, where they were like tapping the shoulders of all these people that they're homies with, musicians and actors and famous people. Morgan Freeman showed up and was just like, I'm Morgan Freeman.
Just inexplicably Morgan Freeman and Dikembe Mutombo.
When Dikembe Mutombo showed up, I was like, who's best friends with Dikembe Mutombo?
Yeah, but he's like a really famous African dude.
He is.
And it's just like,
I grew up with, the little,
no.
What was the little figurines of basketball players that they made? That were like starter something another.
The ones where they were like posed, always doing something sick.
Yeah, Dikembe Mutombo, and I would always pick Dikembe Mutombo and NBA Jam. Because
he
he's
could block everything.
Yeah, because he's the biggest, hugest, awesomest dude ever. And actually, believe it or not, when Dikembe Mutombo showed up, I was super pumped because it's one of the few dudes in like NBA I actually gave a shit about.
Yeah, well,
it's so weird. It's so weird.
I think we actually kind of ruined a part of the movie by telling you that he was in it. But
no, not really. He's in it.
Well, I was excited when they were just like
starting
out of
lineup.
nowhere.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of things in this movie like that. They do play the Soul Globe music. There's all of the things from the old movie that make you be like, oh, yeah.
I remember that.
The movie. And it's not like forced on you in any way. But
it's still not original. It still doesn't like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The original story in this movie and the whole thing about like, they had a decent idea behind the message
this
they
love
wanted.
triangle that like that was a problem I had with it. They tried so hard to retrofit a story into something that was just nostalgia bait that at the end where he's like, I'm gonna marry this lady I met 48 hours ago, and you're just like, what? And then at the end, after they got married, like Wesley Snipes, who's like a machete-toting like murder general, is like, I guess love wins again, eh? Let's dance. And I'm like, wait, what? And everything was just like, it's like the story was the second thing that they thought about for this movie, but the jokes landed. The characters were there, and the cameos were there.
There's the meta comment that they said Hollywood only wants to make superheroes. Reboots
or sequels to dead movies that no one asked for.
Sequels that nobody asked for, and they did make fun of themselves in the movie, and it wasn't like one of those things where they say that and then like stare at the camera or anything.
Vince said, speaking of 90s rap, I found out something that is a bombshell. You know the song I Got a Man by Positive K? Yes. I got a man. What your man got to do with me? I got a man. Trying to do that, see? The female rapper didn't show up to the studio, so Positive K pitched his voice down and did both parts. That's amazing. Well, and speaking of rap parts in the movie, they got the two twins that were the rapping dates.
They did, yeah. At the end,
they come in.
When they had,
where did they find these people?
Well, it doesn't matter, dude. They were in it because old Reggie Watson made his cameo. I was far too excited about when that occurred, and then the rapping twins came in, and I was like, oh, I was like the Leo meme, you know.
It was pretty unexpected, honestly.
I mean, can I say that I wish that Leslie Jones wasn't in this movie?
Yes, I wish she wasn't in the movie
or that
either.
Tracy Morgan played a smaller role, or maybe a little less of a Tracy Morgan than himself
I kind
role.
of like Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, but as much as he was in this movie, though,
I think he fit.
he was really heavy.
He fit more than Leslie Jones fit, I
Sure,
think.
but them trying to put him in there was if they would have taken Leslie Jones' character out and just had Tracy Morgan's character,
I think that
because
would
her character wasn't really necessary.
It wasn't necessary. I mean, she could have like died or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But kudos to Wesley Snipes for he's jumped shark a little bit ever since the What We Do in the Shadows television show, and kind of doing, and also all that tax evasion that he wasn't allowed in the country for
so
a long
far
time
back ago.
But I like how he's returning to films and he's doing comedy. He
has to actually act this time instead of just refusing to open his eyes and making them CGI his eyeballs on.
Well, because Wesley Snipes crazy, and
Well-
it made me rewatch Demolition Man.
Oh, why would you just not watch Demolition Man all the time?
'Cause,
Figure out how the 3 shells work, man.
Dude, Demolition Man is really good.
You know what was in my Facebook memories straight up yesterday, bro?
Demolition Man.
That I had posted about Demolition Man and how they never explained the 3 seashells. And at the end of the movie, Sylvester Stallone is like, you got to tell me how those seashells work, which means
Roll credits.
in that whole movie, either he was walking around with a straight up dookie butt and getting mad rash twixt his cheeks, or he was having to wash his hands way too hard.
Or
you
like
feel me?
like he did in the police station.
Just
where
say
he
a bunch of cuss
he
words
just
to get the
cuss word,
tickets.
Get the tickets.
Yeah, but then he has a paper cut beehole. I mean, there's no positive way of looking at how his butt was in this movie. So that was in my memories that I was like, hey, this grosses me out, but this movie's really good. You know what was funny about Wesley Snipes?
No, actually, Vince said something. He says they have the instructions at Taco Bell, and I just thought of this just now, that if the only restaurant in the world was Taco Bell, everything's going to come out so fast, you may not need paper. You just catch it in the shells.
And then you like tear it down like a fountain.
Yeah,
it's like a
just like a
fountain.
fountain.
No, I hate this conversation. I hate where it's going.
Fart jokes are always funny.
So the best part about
Full circle.
Wesley Snipes' character, which I had to rewind because I was laughing so hard, was that his like super like evil army of Nextdoria that are like
Nextdoria.
that
What
are-
a
that are
beautiful name for a country,
that are
too.
trained in like just being
Step.
step dancers, just being like stomp the yard, like super badass step dancers. They all trained in DDR and friggin' shake weights. They were all like shake weighting around, and they're like beefed out dudes, and then they're DDRing.
There was some funny moments in this movie.
DDR arcade game to train the soldiers, and I thought that was so funny.
There was some funny moments in this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
telling
gonna
you-
lie.
No, like the story of this movie, forget about it. It's
But-
like a rehash of the first movie, but this time some girl power stuff and make your own choice. So
Also a little bit
they flip it
Wakanda
backward.
Forever stuff, which kind of came out of nowhere
yeah,
for me.
but Wakanda is Zamunda.
I mean, it is. It's the OG Zamunda. Because if you remember the original, he
the
was like
version
doing
of-
ninja training at the beginning.
Yeah, the version of Wakanda for the Black Panther movie is a rip of Coming to America. There's no doubt about that. That connection's been made. Everyone can see that. It's a Pan-African, multi-ethnic, like kingdom of peace, and everyone loves it. Like, and everything was there. Wakanda was just straight up Zamunda. No one came up with that. They watched Coming to
Zamunda
America and made it.
rules.
Not how Wakanda is in the comics at all. But in the movies, it's Zamunda.
Because everybody likes Zamunda.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Yeah, James Earl Jones, man.
But anyway, I mean, I've been reading a lot of reviews about this film, and I can always tell the people that have never watched the original or weren't old enough to be alive when it came out.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it does.
My favorite comedies from the 50s. I was not alive in the 50s.
True.
My favorite movie is from the 50s.
True, but I think you're also able to separate your life experience from content you view that was beyond your life.
That's weird because then when I watch things like that, I put myself into those periods and times, and I think about things like that.
Yeah, most
Kind of
people
like-
most people don't do that, and
Most people don't history.
Well, exactly. And I think that has caused a lot of interesting reviews from this film, because I've seen a lot of mixed things. People going, oh, this, blah, 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 it's so stale, yada, 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 this and this and this. I can't even believe that. And, and they're like, well, compared to the original. And I'm getting this tone. You can always read between the lines when you read enough, like, really bad reviews, where they just watched the original also. And
because you can watch it on Amazon as well,
and it's a hurried thing, and I think that anybody that ever wants to get into film history, like, not to get off of our doo-doo fart jokes, which we love to do so much, but get into actual film appreciation and film history, you gotta stop putting yourself into these movies. You gotta stop thinking about 2021 or whatever year it is when you're watching these movies. You gotta unlearn what you have learned.
Put yourself into the movie. Don't try to bring the movie
to yourself
into the future.
Yeah, you can't do it
and be like, well, they should have done this if they were considering that and this. It's not.
No, man, you can't do that. You have to transport yourself back into a time and let yourself experience vicariously that experience. And
I want to go back and watch all these Kurosawa. I'm going to watch like Ron or Kagemusha and be like, oh, why did these idiots just use shields? I mean, geez.
God.
Oh, if they were in
Get a flintlock, bro.
Yeah, if they were in 2020, they would just use helmets and shields or whatever. Makes more sense that way.
Just eat more tuna, you starving idiots. Why are you only eating rice? I've had sushi before. Yeah, I don't know. Koku was a currency, y'all. It was rice.
Look at this guy.
Hey, history, dude.
Oh, speaking of that, you know what has recently come out on Netflix? That Samurai History show. That's a thing you can watch, but I suggest
I added it to my list. Have you watched it?
No, it's I
Could we have written it better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, whatever. I added it to the list. I thought it was going to be interesting, but I started watching Venture Brothers instead.
Yeah, it's basically it's about as realistic to Japanese history as Zamunda and Wakanda are to African history. So, yeah, there you
go. Let's see. Yeah, Johnny says, why didn't Jack just use a jet ski in Titanic, or just like share his location? God. Why didn't nobody share their location? Why did they even sink though?
Yeah.
I mean, although I don't think ship technology's gotten any better, because remember what happened to Carnival Cruise like 3 years ago when everybody
full of poop.
got his poop, and it was still funny.
It wasn't funny. People got really sick
and died.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and that's what made it funny. It was so much poop they died. Oh man, Johnny asks, "Are we excited about King Kong versus Godzilla?" You ask this every week, Johnny.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we're bound to. You have to be
excited.
But next week,
excited, is that the word?
Yeah. Well, next week we get the Snyder Cut, and then what? Kong and Zilla's the week after.
So next week, are we gonna? Do you want to come over and watch it? Because I don't think it's gonna hit theaters anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? How big's your TV, dude?
Mine's a 65.
You want to come over and watch Snyder Cut? I'll cook steam buns.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, dude.
Let's do it.
Steam buns and fried dumplings. We'll just have a dim sum night, and we'll watch Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I got a freezer and a fridge full of Asian market things as well. Just bought some new bread, some steamed bread that you can put whatever you want on.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, that's what. When does it come? Does it come out before the next Monday?
Snyder Cut comes out on the 18th, so that's Thursday. Next Thursday.
Damn it! So we'll have another show before that happens. So, yeah. Vince says, "Are you guys juicing your jeans about Kong versus Godzilla?" There's no juice in these jeans about Kong versus Godzilla. It's just gonna be a movie. It's gonna be a lackluster movie.
There are jeans in the juice.
Jeans in the juice.
Get it? GENES. Jeans in your juice. Don't wheeze that juice. Yeah, nice. You know what? I watched the first episode of Doom Patrol. That was something I did.
Wait, the first one?
Yeah, I just started.
You finally started it?
Yeah, because going back to what someone said about Titans, I watched
back
Titans.
To the beginning of the show.
I watched Titans recently. Titans is not perfect. Parts of it are not bad.
And by the end of it, you're like,
Yeah, at the end of
I'll watch
season
it.
2. At the end of season 2, you're like, why don't you just start right here?
I'll watch because this is where it needed to be. Night Owlishly says, can we do a projector on the patio at Pinpoint? This is something that I've actually thought about doing.
Yeah, just don't put Snyder Cut up there because that's asking for trouble.
I've thought about doing this. There's a mounting issue, a light pollution issue from our neighbors at Hugo's, and the fact that my projector is only 2,800 lumens. I need a 4,000 lumen projector to get or two synced up projectors to get the appropriate brightness to do a film outdoors. This is all science nerdy shit. Also, sound is a thing. I have thought about doing if you know a location that has a large flat wall that I can drive a truck in front of doing a pop-up drive-in speakerbox, because that's why I bought an FM transmitter in the first place that can broadcast up to 7 blocks. Yes, I've thought about this. I've done the research. I bought it back in 2008. I had all these plans to do drive-in speakerbox pop-up drive-ins way back when I was doing art stuff all the time, and I was like that gung-ho, like, I'm going to change the world with my art guy that was an idiot. And yeah, if you want to do it, a location, let me know. We can do it. Email us at, I don't know, send us a DM on Drive-in Speakerbox. We're there. The comments are blowing up. What's going on? We'll pay to reserve a table. Only public domain movies. I know, Vince, I used to do a thing called Schlock Cinema. You remember Schlock Cinema?
I do, yeah.
And a lot of those films,
That's where we had to watch Society.
Oh, dude, I was responsible for showing people so many movies that they had never seen, that they were like, what the hell? Actually, Miami Connection, I got and I screened it before it got blown up with the Alamo Drafthouse, because a friend of mine did a personal friend of mine, shout outs to John, did all the music for Miami Connection. And also, I think Surf Nazis Must Die. John, I know he's not listening, but he's a buddy of mine. He turned me on to this film many years ago, and I screened it for everybody, and then Alamo Drafthouse picked it up and did a whole thing with it, and it found this whole cult phenomenon, and we were ahead of it. We were before it was cool here on the Drive-in Speakerbox.
Just in on all those Samurai Cop.
Yeah, dude, Samurai Cop. Yeah, I was there way before Samurai Cop got cool.
What's the one that takes place in Hawaii, and they like...
That was Surf Nazis Must Die.
No, there's another one.
With the razor blade frisbee?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, lots of movies. The trick is never tell anybody where you're doing it, never advertise what you're showing. Schlock Cinema, I never told people what we were watching until the projector was turned on. That was the beauty of Schlock Cinema. It was like, trust me.
Hey, you're going to have
a good time.
Your mind is going to be ruined forever. Let's show everyone Terror Firmer sometime.
Oh, what was I did Dead End Drive-In. What was a good one? And Pieces, and the Neon Maniacs. I did another one, oh God, years ago. I can't even remember the name of the movie where the gym that killed people. I did Manos, The Hand of Fate. I did
Ghoulies?
I did Ghoulie. No, Ghoulies Go to College. Ghoulies 3.
Yeah.
I did that one because that's the lost Ghoulies that nobody wants to talk about. But yeah, dude. Oh man, Schlock Cinema nights were great, and I do desperately miss those nights. Let's see. Johnny asks, how about the building with the owl mural? Too public.
Ricky O. Johnny asked about that. That's one of those movies where, man, I don't think anyone that doesn't want to watch Ricky O should ever have to watch Ricky O. Just like tying his own tendons and muscles together so he can keep punching people after his arm's chopped in half.
I didn't do a Schlock Cinema of it, but I did do an invite only where I did Tetsuo the Iron Man. If you've ever seen that,
why not? Yeah,
weird.
Let's just put Ichi the Killer up in public and
the Killer's cool.
Watch that become cancel culture, because they'll be like, look at this rapist. It's like, yeah, like everyone else.
Yeah, Ichi the Killer is not an okay. Anything from Takeshi Miike is probably not okay these days.
Oh, hey, well, there's a couple. He did that remake of 13 Assassins.
Okay, anything past 2008.
Oh, the 13 Assassins thing does have that like daimyo that rapes boys and then shoots them with the bow. Maybe you can't show that one.
Yeah,
never mind.
Takeshi Miike.
I'm having a hard time thinking of Miike movies that would work. I had one, and I lost it.
And you lost it. Anyway, Loj Webb asks, did I pause it every time someone went up to the restroom? No. You had to stay through the whole thing and pee your pants. Anyway, well, we're out of time. It is time for us to go. This guy's got to get to work. I got to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, like, subscribe, share. You can find this MP3 podcast wherever you get podcasts. You can tune in next week. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you next week. I'm the Boom Operator.
I'm the Grip.
Peace out, y'all.